Get ready to question everything you know about cars, because today we're diving into the wildest ride on the internet. The top 10 smallest and weirdest cars you won't believe exist. From microscopic city machines that look like toys, to folding futuristic pods, electric boxes, three-wheeled rockets, and vehicles that feel like they broke the laws of design itself. This list is pure automotive madness. Some are cute, some are terrifying, and some are so strange they shouldn't even be street legal. Buckle up, because these tiny legends prove that sometimes the smallest cars create the biggest shock. At number 10, we're heading to the tiny streets of Italy to meet one of the strangest little vehicles ever built, the Casalini Sulky. Introduced in 1971, this bizarre machine looks like someone shrunk a full-sized car in the wash and somehow made it road legal. Designed for cramped European alleyways, the Sulky was so narrow it could squeeze through spaces most cars wouldn't even attempt. Its boxy shape gave it the attitude of a tough off-roader, but in reality, it was barely bigger than a household doorway. And the engineering underneath was even crazier. Power came from a tiny 50 cubic centimeter engine, basically the same size you'd find in a small scooter. With a top speed of just 25 miles per hour, this thing wasn't built for racing. It was built simply to survive city traffic while keeping drivers dry in the rain. Driving one must have felt absolutely insane. You sit inches from the windshield, the steering feels twitchy, and next to a massive pickup truck, the Sulky looks like a toy that accidentally wandered onto a real highway. Back then, it was cheap transportation, but today, these weird little microcars have become rare collector pieces worth thousands. And somehow, this is only the beginning of our list. Sliding into the number 9 spot is a car that looks like a normal 1950s sedan, until you realize it's unbelievably tiny. Meet the legendary Goggomobil T250. Oh, a post-war German microcar that somehow packed full-size style into a microscopic body. From a distance, it looks like a classic vintage family car with rounded fenders, chrome hubcaps, and elegant old-school design. But up close, it's smaller than some lawnmowers on the road today. And despite its toy-like appearance, the engineering was surprisingly serious. Hidden in the rear was a tiny 250 cubic centimeters two-stroke twin-cylinder engine producing around 13 horsepower. That may sound laughable now, but in a car weighing under 1,000 pounds, it was enough to push this little machine close to 46 miles per hour. Inside, it actually felt like a proper car too. The backward opening suicide doors added a touch of luxury, while the cabin gave drivers a strange feeling of sitting inside a perfectly shrunken time capsule. What makes the Goggomobil even crazier today is its value. These were originally built as cheap transportation for ordinary people, but now restored models can sell for over $40,000 at auction. That's luxury car money for something with less power than a riding mower. Tiny, adorable, and slightly terrifying in modern traffic, the charm of this little car is impossible to ignore. Coming in at number 8 is a vehicle so strange it looks less like a car and more like a household appliance on wheels, the Zagato Zele. And that's what makes it unbelievable. The famous Italian design company Zagato is known for creating stunning exotic cars for brands like Aston Martin and Ferrari, but during the fuel crisis of the 1970s, they shocked the world by building this tiny electric cube. The Zele had absolutely no interest in looking sporty. It was basically a brightly colored fiberglass box sitting on 4 tiny wheels. No curves, no sleek styling, just pure square-shaped weirdness. But underneath that bizarre body was something surprisingly futuristic. Decades before Tesla existed, the Zele was already a fully electric city car. Powered by simple batteries and a small electric motor, it could travel around 50 miles on a charge with a top speed of about 25 miles per hour. Driving it must have felt completely surreal. There's almost no sound except the faint electric hum, and the upright seating position makes you feel like you're piloting a tiny rolling refrigerator through traffic. Every bump shakes the car, and corners feel slightly terrifying because the whole thing looks ready to tip over. Today, These quirky little EVs are rare collector items worth thousands, proving that sometimes the weirdest ideas end up far ahead of their time. At number 7, we head to the UK for one of the strangest road machines ever built, the Bond Minicar. The moment you see it, your brain almost refuses to accept it as a normal car. The front end is dominated by a huge rounded nose with a single wheel underneath, while the rear stretches out like a tiny hatchback. The result is a weird tadpole-shaped vehicle that always looks slightly off balance, like it's leaning into a turn, even when parked. But behind that unusual shape is pure post-war British ingenuity. Power came from a small motorcycle engine, usually around 197 cubic centimeters, mounted right up front. Even crazier, the engine and front wheel were connected, meaning the whole assembly turned together when you steered. It's part car, part motorbike, and completely unusual by modern standards. Construction was just as extreme. The body used lightweight aluminum, keeping weight so low that some versions came in at just over 300 pounds. That's so light you could literally move the back of the car by hand if you got stuck somewhere tight. Starting it wasn't normal either. Instead of a key, early models often required you to open the front and kickstart the engine manually like a motorcycle. Imagine doing that in formal clothes before heading to work. On the road, it felt both hilarious and terrifying. Sitting inside, you were barely visible next to modern traffic, especially beside something like a pickup truck, where your eye level barely reached the wheels. It's weird, fragile, and brilliant all at once. And number 6 takes things even further. At number 6, things get even more unreal with a Japanese creation that feels like it escaped from a toy box, the Mitsuoka MC1. The first impression is almost disbelief. It looks like a life-sized plastic arcade toy or a ride you'd find outside a supermarket, yet it's actually a road-legal microcar built for ultra-compact city travel in Japan. The design is extremely minimal. A single-seat open buggy made almost entirely from lightweight plastic panels. No real doors, no proper roof, and barely anything between the driver and the outside world. It's so small and cartoonish that it almost feels like it shouldn't be allowed on normal roads at all. Underneath that playful shell is a tiny 50 cubic centimeter two-stroke engine, basically the same kind used in everyday scooters. Paired with a simple automatic-style transmission, you just press the throttle and go. That's it. The top speed is only around 30 miles per hour, but inside it feels much faster because you're completely exposed to everything happening around you. Driving it is a wild experience. The steering is super direct like a go-kart. The engine buzzes loudly behind you, and every passing truck creates a wave of wind that shakes the entire body. It's fun, chaotic, and slightly terrifying all at once. Originally, it was meant as a cheap urban runabout, but today it's a rare oddity that collectors love. And if you think a plastic go-kart on the road is strange, just wait until number 5 completely changes the game. At number 5, we're looking at something that feels like it rolled straight out of a sci-fi future, the Hiriko Fold. This is not just a small car. It's a shape-shifting city pod designed with futuristic urban mobility in mind. At first glance, it looks like a smooth glass bubble on wheels, with ultra-clean styling and massive panoramic windows that make it feel more like a spaceship than anything from today's roads. But the real shock comes from what it can do. Each wheel has its own electric motor and steering system, allowing the car to move in extremely precise ways. Even sideways parking or tight rotational turns that feel almost impossible for a normal vehicle. It was built as a shared city concept, where efficiency and space saving mattered more than anything else. And then comes the mind-blowing part. It literally folds. When you reach your parking spot, the rear wheels slide forward, the body compresses, and the entire vehicle shrinks down to almost half its size. In this compact mode, it becomes so small that multiple units could fit into a single standard parking space. Watching it transform feels less like parking a car and more like witnessing a robot reconfigure itself in real time. Inside, the drive is fully electronic with no traditional mechanical link between steering and wheels, making it feel like you're controlling a smart machine rather than a car. Although the project never reached mass production due to funding issues, it remains one of the boldest mobility experiments ever created, and proof that city cars might look very different in the future. At number 4, we dive straight into pure 1950s British automotive madness, the Frisky Family 3. This thing doesn't just look unusual. It feels like it was designed after the rules of normal car building were completely forgotten. At first glance, it's shockingly narrow and unusually long, almost like a stretched toy car. The seating is in tandem layout, meaning the passenger sits directly behind the driver in a tight motorcycle-style arrangement. The bodywork itself is actually beautifully crafted in lightweight aluminum, but the proportions are so extreme that it almost looks like it's balancing itself out of pure determination. Underneath, it's powered by a small 197 cubic centimeters engine connected through a simple chain drive system to the rear wheels. With its ultra-light weight of under 500 pounds, it was built for one main purpose: surviving Britain's tight, crowded streets and solving the nightmare of parking in cramped spaces. And that's where things get truly wild. Inside the cockpit, there was a lever that would physically retract the front wheels, folding them inward beneath the nose of the car. This dramatically reduced its width to the point where it could allegedly be maneuvered through incredibly tight gaps, even small enough to feel like it belonged indoors. That's the kind of design logic that makes this vehicle unforgettable. Part engineering experiment, part urban survival tool. Today, surviving examples are incredibly rare and treated like museum-level oddities. And just when you think British engineering can't get any more chaotic, number 3 brings in pure roaring muscle in a micro package. Into the top 3 is a machine that completely rejects modern technology and embraces pure, unadulterated danger. The modern Morgan three-wheeler. This is not a cute microcar. This is a British steampunk missile. Visually, it is an absolute masterpiece of aggressive retro design. Shaped exactly like an artillery shell, it features a beautifully crafted aluminum tub, massive wires, spoke wheels, and an open cockpit wrapped in premium leather. It looks just like a classic 1920s race car that has been completely resurrected to terrorize modern streets, turning absolutely every single head as it aggressively rumbles past you. But the absolute craziest visual and mechanical element of the Morgan is its massive engine. Instead of safely hiding the power plant under a hood, Morgan took a huge 2-liter SNS twin motorcycle engine and bolted it entirely outside, hanging off the very front of the car, pumping out 82 horsepower to a single massive rear tire via a 5-speed manual transmission. This 1,150 torpedo rockets from 0 to 60 miles an hour in just 6 seconds. It is a beautiful mechanical symphony of exposed pushrods and raw burning exhaust heat. Sliding into the incredibly tight cockpit of the Morgan three-wheeler is an unforgettable event. You hit the starter button hidden under a military flip-up bomb release switch, and the massive V-twining erupts violently driving. It feels exactly like flying a vintage Spitfire fighter plane at ground level. You feel the wind ripping past your face and the entire chassis vibrating with every single piston stroke. If a massive F1 150 pulls up, you do not feel small. You feel like a heavily armed rogue pilot, and the price for this raw adrenaline, a cool $50,000 to start. Prepare for maximum G-force at number 2. At number 2, we're dealing with something that doesn't just look futuristic. It acts like it's taking the ultimate number 1 spot is a machine that doesn't just look fast. It feels illegal even when it's not. The Vanderhall Venice. Built in Utah, this 3-wheeled beast brings together retro race car styling and modern performance in a way that instantly grabs attention. With its wide, aggressive front end, exposed suspension, and a single massive rear wheel, it looks like something designed for chasing down supercars on canyon roads. Even though it's officially an autocycle, the performance tells a different story. Under the hood sits a 1.5-liter turbocharged engine producing around 194 horsepower, paired with a quick-shifting automatic transmission. Thanks to its ultra-lightweight body, at roughly 1,400 pounds, it rockets from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 4.5 seconds, numbers that put it right into sports car territory. What makes it even more intense is how direct everything feels. There are no doors to step through. You simply step over the side and drop into a low, tight cockpit wrapped in leather. The driving position is pure go-kart aggression, mixed with luxury detail. On the road, it's all sensation. The turbo spools with a sharp hiss, acceleration hits instantly, and the whole machine surges forward with brutal urgency. The stiff chassis and performance suspension keep it planted while every input feels razor-sharp and immediate. It's loud, raw, and completely addictive. A three-wheeled reminder that driving doesn't need four wheels to feel like a supercar experience.